Welcome everybody to Coast Guard Academy. Frank Rossi here. Looking a little backward. Unfortunately, our camera does that to us sometimes here. But JD will be joining me momentarily as we prepare here for the Secretaries Cup game between Merchant Marine Academy and Coast Guard Academy. Beautiful day here. We are expecting rain in the Connecticut, lower Connecticut area here, probably around 3 o'clock Eastern time, which the game may still be going on at that point because of the ESPN commercials. But 60 degrees, give or take a degree today. Sunny weather. As you can see, a little bit of shade on me here, and turn to get our lighting a little bit better. But you can see that the field is beautiful and ready to go here for today's big game. So waiting on our friend James Baker here for him to come on and join me, and we'll be talking about a lot of Division III activity and excitement coming your way today. We already had heard some reports that we have snow. I believe St. Lawrence at Buffalo State is the game. Chris Engel sent us some pictures of snow having to be cleared, lake effect snow out there. So Region 2 is certainly not, let's say, out of the woods in its entirety, but this is a Region 1 game. And I see a bear behind me, and I see JB in front of me right now.
Hey,
JB,
Frank.
how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. This is a new one, you know. Hey.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're a little overexposed right now, but there you go. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
And folks, if you want to comment, we should be able to see your comments here. We're trying to Facebook Live today a little bit because we weren't sure how the reception would be. It seems to be holding up decently. If you can see me and hear me, that's always a good sign.
Yeah.
But JB, I was just talking about snow in the Buffalo area. Our friend Chris Engel sent us some photos of some, let's say, not so nice weather out there. But here it is beautiful. We talked in the show about what would happen if it rained. It would probably force the passing game to be tamped down a little bit. Not happening really here. We are at 60 degrees and sunny. No rain expected until 3 o'clock today. I am actually in short sleeves right now, believe it or not, and not just because I want to be machismo about this.
That's awesome.
It is nice out. But so what do you think? Now that we know the weather forecast here for sure, maybe late rain, if at all, what do you think that does to this game?
Well, I think, it opens up the passing game for the Coast Guard. They have a new freshman quarterback who's from like the San Diego area, I think Oceanside, California. Coach Grant made the change a few weeks back, and so far so good. He's got he's not a big guy, but he's got a strong arm, and I think he's going to test that Mariner secondary today.
Let's see, our friend Matt Hawley is just joining us. Hey, Matt, how are you? I see a bunch of people on with us. Again, if you have any questions, comments, join us. So let's review again, JB, the implications of this game for those that didn't watch our stuff this week, and we're worried, folks. Come on. It's speaking about overexposed. That's us this week. And thanks to the folks in the crowd that have stopped me and said they enjoyed our interview, that they watch us all the time, especially from the Merchant Marine side. As I walked through that crowd today, Coast Guard, though, saw Coach Grant pass by him. He looks like he's all business today. So we definitely have a big game. As you can see, the regiment behind me marching onto the field for Coast Guard Academy. But Region 1 with the NUMAC and the CCC, those are the two conferences that everybody's kind of watching right now. In the NUMAC, if Merchant Marine wins this game, it puts the pressure on Springfield to win to at least avoid that three-way tiebreaker scenario.
Yeah.
But if Merchant Marine loses, it puts the pressure really on Springfield to win, because a Springfield loss would give the conference to Catholic at that point. So a loss by Merchant Marine and a loss by Springfield is the way that Catholic can get in and win the NUMAC still, as one loss against one loss Springfield. So Catholic is not out of it. Springfield certainly not out of it. They control their own destiny here. Even if they lose, they may still win through a three-way tiebreaker. But in a two-way tiebreaker, Springfield does not win. It goes to Catholic. As for the CCC, Endicott control their own destiny right now. If they do not win today, then we got to really look at what happens the rest of the way. We didn't scope that one out nearly as far, because Nichols, we think Endicott should handily beat Nichols the way that they've been playing this season. But Nichols can be inconsistent and sometimes showed some good moments this year. So
Yep.
we'll see which team we get. But that's Region 1. As for Pool C, Merchant Marine fans don't like to hear what we have to say about that. But go ahead. Give them the 411 on that.
Well, I mean, just, unfortunately, just the way things are shaking out across the country, the Mariners' resume isn't going to be strong enough, even with one loss, to get picked. Now, maybe the committee will stun us and just go ahead and do it, but, with teams like Wisconsin Lacrosse, Eaton, Baldwin Wallace can probably lock up a Pool C bid if they go 9-1 by beating John Carroll today, who's at the very bottom of the Region 4 rankings. And then there's Ithaca and Union and Hardin Simmons and Birmingham Southern. There's just too many teams on the list, and so unfortunately, the Mariners are going to be probably one of several, like a handful of teams that have a one-loss resume that just aren't going to make the tournament. Maybe they end up in a game like this. Maybe they end up in the New England Bowl. I think they're going to get an extra game one way or another. It just may not be an NCAA playoff game.
As for Coast Guard, their season has not been the season they've wanted in terms of win-loss record, but you saw some of their story on ESPN this week on Veterans Day, how they've been honoring a lot of different aspects and social issues throughout. We're not going to cover that. We've got to go back to that Sports Center episode, which was well done for an hour. Booker McFarland, Sal Palantonio and company, all were live on campus to take you through what Coast Guard is about, especially Veterans Day weekend here. And that's why we are here on Veterans Day weekend. ESPN upped things a little bit in terms of the ante and broadcast this game on ESPN3. So during the game itself, we will not be on the air. We will be on Twitter only with highlights as always. But ESPN3 is what necessitated the move to Veterans Day weekend here. Used to be the first or second game of the season for these teams. And now it's at the end of the season and in a very meaningful slot. But Coast Guard would love a win here to sort of build off of to go into next year. So, 2-loss or 1-loss Merchant Marine team probably gets a ball somewhere. Looking at what the ECAC and New England Bowl rosters look like in terms of wins and losses, they should get a game. But the question is where and how. Coast Guard, this is their season. This is it.
Yeah.
And you win and you get to ride that through the next season. You lose, it's going to be definitely something you have to think about going into next year, especially with the streak of losses. It would identify, I think, 3 in a row at that point.
Yeah.
In that direction.
I got a question for you, Frank, to put you on the spot here a little bit. You were at last year's Secretaries Cup game in the COVID era. Really, probably none of the possible circumstance like that. What are you seeing as some of the major differences between the 2020 game and this one so far?
I'm not wearing a mask. That would probably be number one. A lot looser of a situation. In fact, I'll turn around here. We may get a little sunlight disparity here, but you can see that the crowd is going to be pretty much a full crowd coming in here. I'll step out of the camera frame, but you'll see that. You'll also see behind me that the Cadet Corps is full here compared to last year. It was a little more sparse because of the things that were being done there last year. But going back to our original position here, that's one thing that's a little bit different. I think just the general vibrancy here. There was a nervousness last year in general that the game wouldn't get played for various reasons. There was never that overtone at all. And what else is different? Coach Tuke retiring being kind of an overshadowing moment here. Yep. 2 years ago we had Bill George announce his retirement before this game, and his team did not win that game. So we'll see if final Secretaries Cup games for head coaches are good things or bad things ultimately. So we're 0-1 in that respect so far.
Please bow your heads and observe a moment.
And we're going to take a moment of silence here.
Sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen who are serving throughout the world, as well as those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our country.
pretty extended moment of silence, Frank.
Thank you.
Stuff
You
on
made
it.
this easy.
Okay, I can talk because I'm not there. But
For the sacrifices that they've paid, worth every second of it, if not more. So, Veterans Day weekend, again, the overshadowing part of all this. Coach Toop did not tell us specifically if he would coach any bowl game. Should they be invited?
I think he sort of hinted that he would. He's not leaving the academy until, we said, like July. So
July.
I think if there's an extra game, he will coach it. And I think you're looking. I mean, unfortunately for the Bears, they haven't won a game since September 18th. They beat Nichols 33-6 and have since then struggled. They've been in some close ones. They narrowly lost Anna Maria at Norwich, and they lost by a couple of touchdowns MIT a couple of weeks ago. This is just, I think, a situation where the Bears are just a really young team, and that's why I think the Mariners are so heavily favored today. But at the same time, as Coach Toop told us, I mean, kind of throw the records out the window. The Bears aren't just going to roll over and let the Mariners run all over them. They're going to fight for every yard that they can get today.
CPAC Coleman joined us from D3Football.com, so we'll be seeing him throughout the playoffs coming up here, and we'll be doing what we can to help out with that as well. And speaking of playoffs, outside Region 1, Region 2 is a mess of sorts right now. Empire 8 is pretty much secure, but the Cortica game could definitely shake up the balance of power in Region 2. Also, the Liberty League. RPI wins against Union today. RPI wins the Liberty League. Union wins. Ithaca wins the Liberty League. And then the question becomes, who's the Pool C team that's going to be on the table first for Region 2? It could be Ithaca. It could be Johns Hopkins. It could be Union. If Union and Ithaca both lose, then it's probably Hopkins. If Ithaca loses and Union wins, it's probably Union, maybe, but we're not so sure. If both Ithaca and Union win, we think it's Union that'll be the first Pool C team at that point in time. Actually, if Ithaca loses and Union wins, I should say, there's going to be a temptation to put Ithaca ahead of Union because of the head-to-head, but we're not sure exactly how it'll go in that situation. So there's definitely many different scenarios you can see play out with those Liberty League teams and Region 2 itself. Region 3?
Well,
Birmingham Southern.
Before we jump to Region 3, Frank, the one thing that was readily apparent in the Region 2 rankings is that it really seems that, unlike all the other racks, the Region 2 rack really did something a little bit different, kind of went with the eye test more than traditionally what is the numbers. I mean, you saw in Region 3, that rack followed the rules, and that's why Birmingham Southern ironically ended up ranked ahead of Arden Simmons, who by the eye test you would say is the stronger team.
Jamie, as I duck down here, and excuse me for that, but we're going to have the national anthem right now, and we're going to pause for that as well. Getting close to game time here officially. It is 11:49 a.m. on the East Coast. Got about 5 more minutes of us, and then tune into ESPN 3. Go find it and go watch Robert Lee and Craig Howard do your play-by-play and color commentary for this game. And Chad Hammonds, thank you everybody for taking the moment of silence for the national anthem as well. for the moment silence and the national anthem. So we appreciate you, Chad. We know how much it means to people across the country this weekend, and especially starting on Thursday for Veterans Day. So Region 3, you were talking about the way they went in the correct order because of Huntington being a ranked team that Birmingham Southern had played. And it'll be interesting to see if somebody somehow maybe leapfrogs Huntington this week and then takes that away from them and puts Hardin-Simmons back above them. Hardin-Simmons is in trouble. Let's just be honest about it. They are blocked right now by Birmingham Southern. And so we'll see what happens with respect to that. So if you think Merchant Marine has problems right now, Hardin-Simmons may even have more problems because they may not even see the table. At least Merchant Marine, if they win today, will probably be on the table for all 5 rounds.
Yeah, they will. Oh, we got a flyover? That was cool. Oh, yeah, wow, look at those. That's awesome.
There you go.
Yeah.
Dinner in a movie here, Mal. Who knew? So anyway, Region 4, pretty definitive what's going to happen there. It's Mount Union and possibly Baldwin Wallace. If they beat John Carroll wins, that gives a bubble team a chance. In Region 5, it looks like it's pretty much North Central and Wheaton with a full C bid, and as long as everybody wins. In Region 6, if St. John's wins, the committee will have a tough time figuring out what to do with Bethel. 2 losses to the same team at a 575 or thereabouts strength of schedule. If Bethel wins, a bubble team gets knocked off the perch because St. John's will go in as one of the first Pool C teams, full stop. Lacrosse as well in Region 6 should they win today. I believe they have 1 more game left today, if I remember correctly. Yep. So
they play on player, I think, yeah.
Yep. So, you never know any given week in the WIAC. But every year, Week 11 brings carnage to the table somehow. Every time we think we know what's going to happen, we end up with, no, it didn't work out that way because somebody lost that shouldn't have lost. And then we have to start wondering. Later on tonight, maybe you and I hop on a quick little video and tell people what we think will happen. We'll see what happens here.
The bear just gave us a high five, or he's pointing at us.
The rivalry between the 2 academies.
Something like the Coast Guard there to give you a little entertainment today. And some cheerleaders as well. They're finding the ESPN camera. They don't care about the in-huddle camera, that's for sure. But anyway, JB, as we conclude here in about 2 or 3 minutes, what are your thoughts? You gave us some of them on our live show yesterday about what to watch for. What are you specifically watching today, besides obviously ESPN3's presentation of the Secretaries Cup game? What are you going to be focused on? Let's say if you have 2 or 3 screens today.
I kind of joked around in a tweet earlier. I don't have enough devices to watch all the games that I want to see today. I mean, there's so many. There's Cortica. There's the Keystone Cup. There's Muhlenberg is trying to punch their ticket to the to the game. We've got River Falls against Oshkosh, Randolph-Macon, Hampden-Sydney. There's Williams, Amherst. There's so many great games on today. It's gonna be tough to track them all, but we'll do our best and recommend people keep an eye on the d3football.com scoreboard for updates. I'm sure Pat and company will be keeping that up to date. It's sort of a central source of info for all these crazy games that are going on. And it's the thing that's nuts, Frank, is that literally I'd say 90% of the games today are all kicking off between noon and 2 o'clock. There's only like 12 games that kick off after 2. So it's going to be a ton of activity, hot and heavy for a few hours here, and then we'll kind of know what the playoffs are going to look like.
It's like a dry run to next week when all the games start at noon local time, and that means basically 15 out of the 16 games will be starting within 1 hour of each other and ending probably in the same fashion unless there's overtime. And as you know, DCFootball.com is working on getting bracket blitz show again this year, much like our D3 Blitzer last week, except with playoff games. We have our rights requests out there, and we'll keep you updated throughout the week if that will be happening. Another studio show whip around, but that's a pretty meaningful whip around because win and continue, lose, you're done. Period! Exclamation point. No more talk about that large bids and all that. It's the playoffs at that point, and it means everything. And there are every year 1 or 2 upsets that will catch your attention, and then close games that'll make you scratch your head a little bit about teams you thought you knew once they start facing, let's say, some closer competition from other regions or other conferences that they wouldn't otherwise see.
Yeah.
Our predictions yesterday, I think we both went for Merchant Marine Academy on this one, although we think that Coast Guard will keep it close throughout. if you had to give me, let's say, a quarter-by-quarter view of this game, is Coast Guard going to start out hot, or is it going to be Merchant Marine starting out hot in your estimation?
I think it's all going to boil down to the Mariners' offensive line opening up some running lanes for Blankenship. If Blankenship gets off to a fast start, the Mariners are probably going to roll in this one. If the Bears are able to create some pressure, get their run defense secure, then we're in for a more competitive ball game. But Blankenship is the guy for the Mariners' offense, and how he goes, they'll go.
Beautiful 60-degree day here today, JB. As
Amazing.
I said, it is amazing. Knowing what we were facing yesterday, I told you after we were done with our show, it was pouring in upstate New York yesterday, and throughout much of the night. We had fog all the way from upstate New York through middle of Massachusetts when I was driving through. And then to see this, and obviously on the water side over here with the Thames River, it is a beautiful scenic setting with beautiful weather today. And you'll get to get a sense of it if you're not here on ESPN3. So at this point, we're going to welcome you to go watch ESPN3. And again, Robert Lee on play-by-play, Craig Hauber on color commentary will do a great job. I know they've been working throughout the week to get updated and bring you the best information possible for this game. We will see you perhaps at halftime. You and I will do this again. Who knows? This is actually a little bit of fun, more than we anticipated.
Yeah, this is actually, I'm surprised. I wasn't sure that this was going to go off, but hey, so far so good.
As long as I can see you and hear you, I'm assuming everybody out there could, and Chad Hammond seems to think so, and thanks to him for joining us. Yeah. We'll see you hopefully at halftime, and then post-game interviews, as always, will be up probably tomorrow morning. And then we'll also have some more specifics about our chair interview. We are waiting for specifics on that and the ECAC selection show on Monday as well. A lot coming up, folks. Enjoy the game.